Let me first of all welcome you all to this presentation. It is going to be on this is our diversity plan for the Talladega County Central High School. This whole diversity plan was focusing on students that are at the poverty level or below. Okay. With that being said, within this presentation, I'll go through the demographics of the school, some I-rated data for 7th grade males. Those were the only ones that I used, 7th grade males, because I needed just a control group. So I chose 7th grade male students. We'll talk about some things that we should know about the diversity plan, ways we can improve our students' opportunity for success, goals, and then at the end we'll have questions, and I'll do my best to provide some answers. Sound fair enough? Mm-hmm. All right, so the demographics of our school, right now we have 129 students, that's 7 through 12, 65 female students, 64 male students. Let me say that did change. We actually have 128 now, 64 males, 64 female students at TC now. We're 92% African American, 7% white, non-Hispanic, 1% Latino. 71% of our students receive free and reduced lunch. In our I-rated data, figure 1 is going to show us those students that were tested on August 2019. And again, these are 7th grade male students. Figure 2 is going to show us the data from the students that tested on September of 2020. And then finally, our last slide, or our last data slide, will be from September 2021, this September. 2019, as you all can see, those students that were below grade level far exceeds those students that were reading at grade level. 81.2% students were below grade level, which means that 18.8% of the students were reading at grade level. This is 7th grade. In 2020, you see that number, instead of going up, the below grade level, instead of going down, it went up to 93.33%. At grade level went down to 6.67%. The data from 2021, this past September, sadly, we're at 100% that are below grade level. None are reading that grade level in 7th grade. These are our males. Keep that in mind. What did we notice from data 1 to data 2 to data 3? What did we notice?
Went down. Well, the
below average
went up.
continued to go up, right? While the at grade level continued to go down. So we started out with 81.2%. Then we went to 93.3. Then this year we were at 100% of students reading below the grade level. Now we're at a race against time, of course, with our students, because each year they progress to the next grade level. And what are we carrying behind? Students that are below grade level at reading, right? We're asking the question, how do we improve students' opportunity for success? Before we can answer this question, there are something that we need to know, some things that we need to know. Those things, 7 things in particular, 7 reasons why poverty affects students' engagement. The very first one that I have listed is health and nutrition. If a student is hungry when they come into school, they're not going to be able to focus, right? So with that being said, they're not going to be able to pay attention. They're not going to be able to learn adequately. They're not thinking about reading. That's the furthest thing on their mind when they're hungry. Vocabulary. As it relates to a child that's living in poverty, their vocabulary is not as extensive as it would be for a student that was coming from, say, middle class or upper class. Because of the fact, for one, they don't hear the formal registry of vocabulary used in their home. The vocabulary that they're used to in their home is the same vocabulary that they're going to be used to with their friends. They're going to speak on the same level. Everybody speaks on the same level. So of course, when they come into the classroom and we say, even a word, something as simple as comprise, meaning put together, the students don't understand what that means, right? So the vocabulary, I hate to say it like this, but sometimes our vocabulary has to be dumbed down. in order for them to be able to understand what we're trying to convey to them. The next one is effort. Same thing, when a kid is coming out or coming from a impoverished background, their effort level is not as high as those that will be coming from middle class and upper class. For one reason, is because they generally see that if everybody's on the same playing field, on the same level playing field, they don't have anything to aspire to. So therefore, they're not going to put out as much effort. It's okay that everybody's on the low grade level when everyone in the classroom is getting the same results, right? If there's nobody in the class that says they're at grade level or above, then that kid or that student is not going to try to come up any higher because of the fact, hey, I'm equal with everybody else. I'm equal with everybody else. So the next thing is hope and growth mindset. Hope and growth mindset. Some students in poverty have very little to hope for due to their situation. And I say it laughing, but it's really not a joking matter. It's really a sad situation because we're basically saying that they don't have anything to hope for. They don't have anything, again, just like for effort, they don't have anything to aspire to. And so their mindset is not focused on getting better. It's just staying level or staying with everybody else. And in this case, that's not a good thing because the last slide that I showed you all, as far as I read data was, everybody was at 100% below reading level. So that hurts. Cognition, the process of understanding through thought and experiences is limited when living in poverty. One reason is that there are not many opportunities for that student to have, whether it be traveling or just seeing different things, having different experiences. So if the kid hadn't been exposed to things outside of the norm for their environment, then their learning, their thought process never evolves, it never grows, it never gets better. It remains the same as everyone else's. The next one is relationships. One thing about a student that lives in poverty, they don't necessarily trust people so easily. So it's hard to build a new relationship when you don't trust anybody, right? If the person that's supposed to help you make it up to the next level, as far as socioeconomic status, if that person is supposed to help you, but you don't know them, it's going to be kind of hard. It's going to be kind of hard to make it up to the next level because, hey, you're not willing to trust anybody. So relationships are not many new relationships are built. And then, of course, the stress. When a student comes to school, they don't leave behind their stress. They don't leave behind their worries at the house. They bring that all to school with them. And so that's another reason, or that's another hurdle that they have to overcome in order to be able to pay attention to class, do what they need to do for their assignments. According to a 2013 educational leadership article, How High Poverty Schools Are Getting It Done, 4 characteristics of the principal. Their belief about student potential drives their work. They put instruction at the center of their managerial duties. They focus on building the capacity of all the adults in the building. They monitor and evaluate what leads to success and what can be learned from failure. Stop smiling so hard, Mr. McCary. But these is how some schools are getting it done, okay? I knew. So now let's get back to our question. How do we improve students' opportunity for success? We gotta have goals. We can achieve together. Some of those things that we can do is blur the lines of socioeconomic boundaries, model effective behavior for middle class success. We can educate our faculty and students of cultures that may be underrepresented in our school. And then the final one, we can identify and remove barriers that are limiting the growth of a diverse learning environment. How are we going to reach these goals? How are we going to blur the lines of socioeconomic boundaries? One thing we can do, one activity is participate in National Mix-Up and Lunch Day. We can model effective behavior for middle class success by starting a mentoring program. We can educate our faculty and students of culture, of cultures that may be underrepresented in our school through a participation in the cultural days. And of course, there's a list of cultural days that some of us may not be aware of because, hey, it's not a part of our culture, right? Then the last thing, we can identify and remove barriers that are limiting the growth of a diverse learning environment by participating in blind date with the book. That's not talking about dating in the sense that, the traditional sense of dating. Participating in blind date with the book means that the student will meet up. They each will have a book that they'll actually just talk about, okay? So just to clarify that. We've develop weekend survival kits. And then to continue on, we participate in cross-country classroom exchange. And we could also implement school-wide use of vocabulary.com, which will help break down language barriers that may be a result of socioeconomic differences. We have any questions, comments, concerns? Already got questions.
Yeah, sorry. Just, so was this our seventh graders in 2019? So these kids are currently freshmen?
Correct.
Gotcha,
Correct.
thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for taking the time to come and listen to my presentation. That will be the end, and once again, thank you.